Issues. The legal battle regarding the reappointment of Emir of Kano, Muhammadu Sanusi II, has taken another turn. In a significant turn of events, Emir Sanusi secured a victory against Aminu and Bayero as the Court of Appeal overturned Justice Liban's earlier verdict, which challenged Sanusi's reappointment. The three-member panel, led by Justice Muhammad Mustafa, insisted that the Federal High Court overstepped its jurisdiction by ruling on a matter it was not authorized to handle. Adoye, what do you call this, a victory or a setback, or both?
Well, it's a victory for the winner, you know.
Is there a winner already?
I mean, for the giving the judgment, okay. You know, it's a victory for, you know, one side and a setback for the other. But I think my main worry, you know, is that traditional institutions are suffering a lot of political interference, you know, in the past years. And I don't think it will be good for his image and even for the image of the government. Because...
But whose image now?
Well, the image of the traditional institution itself. Because institutions that has existed for over 100 years. But you discover that when politicians come in, they want to ensure that they have their own candidate there. So I believe, or I suspect, that this case may still go to the Supreme Court, you know. But even there, whoever wins this battle, there is no guarantee that such a person is immune from future political interferences, you know. So we've seen this happen over and over again. And I wish we have a situation where traditional institutions should be left, you know, alone to handle traditional matters, you know, free from the complex intrigues of politics, of electoral politics.
Well, how did we get here?
Well, it's a whole lot of factors, you know, where political actors want to be in charge of spiritual matters, they want to be in charge of economic matters, they want to be in charge of political matters. You know, there are several times they have tried to even go into issues of mosque and church. There was a time they were talking about, oh, if you are a pastor, you cannot spend mosque and so. So
I've seen a situation where governors sacked a pastor.
National institutions should be, you know, they should not suffer, you know, constant interference from the government. You know, it started during the military era, though we have seen instances even in the early 60s, you know, that people were removed. But it boils down to the fact that political actors, people in power, they want everything under their control. So if you are a very influential traditional ruler that, you know, you have a lot of, you know, something happened in the, I think the 80s or 90s, you know, it happened at Ibadan. There was a very popular play called Arelu, staged by a very popular, you know, actor, Jim Aliu. It's late now. Yes. Anytime this play was shown on NTA, the whole street of Ibadan, Southwest, would be empty. Do you know that he told me, Jim Aliu, before he died, that, look, the military government summoned him, that, look, this thing you are doing, that the whole street is deserted. It means you can plan the coup. You can see the mentality. That's what Jim Aliu told you, you know, blessed memory. He said, every time, except for Aliu, everywhere we said, this thing, we are afraid of this thing can come. You can imagine that kind of thing. So, political actors, people in power, they must realize that they have a limit. You can't be controlling traditional institutions. You want to take over churches, you want to go. There's going to bring a lot of conflict. And I hope, we're happy that, I mean, these are cousins, the two of them, you know, the same family and all that. It's
actually a family issue.
You know, I'm impressed by the temperament of the two actors. We will not see violence in this case, compared with what we have been. So I hope they keep that tradition, and whoever wins at the Supreme Court, they should just allow it to sit as an act of Allah, and then accept it the way it is.
Exactly. Asuka, have you tried to interpret this judgment?
Well, I've tried, you know, but I think where the appeal courts, you know, the major issue, the thing there is that the case should not have even have been heard by Justice Lima in the first place, you know, that it doesn't have jurisdiction. And well, once the Supreme Court or the appeal court says a particular matter, you know, doesn't have jurisdiction, that is the end. because jurisdiction is like the foundation of every suit. You understand? So that is where the appeal court just knocked off this whole matter. You know, yeah, I know one of the appellant was one of the kingmakers. You know, he was part of the people that they removed in one of the 4 emirates then, you know. So for him to have even come to say, okay, my fundamental human right has been, you know, violated, blah, blah, blah. The appeal court has said, in the first place, you don't even have, you shouldn't have entertained that at the federal level. You know, 2 of the members of the panel also disagreed with even Justice Kolawole, you know, because Justice Kolawole was saying they should move the case back to the high courts for them to start. But the 2 of them are saying there's no point even entertaining the matter in the first place. Okay? So, for now, the court has, you know, ruled. The appeal court has actually ruled. And we want to see if they will have to move it further. You know, when I mean further, going to the Supreme Court. But this is a family matter. And just like Adio said, the temperament of both of them.
Family matter?
Yeah,
I think it's now a national issue.
No, the temperament of both emirs, you know, is something that everybody should learn. You know, they have taken it with all strides. Nobody is abusing anybody. This person is going to his own path, and that person, the other one is going. It is just the supporters that are carrying it on their head.
And I think to an extent, they're still in control of their supporters.
Exactly. You understand? And they still tell their supporters, so, you know, keep calm. And that is what we need. That is what we want to hear. Even, I want to believe that even after the Supreme Court's, you know, judgment, eventually, they will be able to tell their supporters, well, it is the will of God. You know, let's take it that way. They are brothers. Whether they are cousins or they come from the same blood. So they will find a way to, you know, sort this out. It is just unfortunate the politicians have infiltrated into their family, you know, to bring this, you know, rhyme, you know. But they should be able to find a way around it. If the court says it is this person or that person, let them just take it that way. And it is high time politicians leave traditional rulers to rule their domain the way that the people in that domain want them to rule them. They should just allow them. Because infiltrating into traditional institution, that's why they're even saying, put us in the constitution.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes, yes.
When you put them into the constitution, in fact, I would even suggest that they should not even put them in the constitution.
Why?
Because once you put the traditional institution into the constitution, that is when the politician will use them the more.
Some of the opinion that they would be protected.
They are already protected by their people.
Is that enough?
Yes.
I mean, you just talked about political interference.
A king about the traditional ruler. A traditional ruler is being put there not by the government. Yes, the government will give them staff of office and all that, but by God himself.
Are you
because
sure?
do you know, yes, listen, do you know what it takes? Do you know what it takes to be a king? Do you know the rituals you will go through? Do you know the spirits that you go through?
People now pay for it, you know.
That is, do you know why people are doing that? Because politicians have infiltrated.
Yeah,
were you hearing all these things before? You were not. But all of a sudden, we started hearing that, oh, this person should not be the king because they are so-so person. So, traditional institution should be traditional. Do not bring politics into the traditional institution. I know people might not like my position, but I feel that once you put the traditional institution and you are trying to give them that cover, politicians will make use of that institution and then they will rubbish it. I can bet you. Because look at what is happening to the local government today.
And I also think some traditional rulers also like the fact that they're being used by these politicians. But does it interest you or does it worry you that the matter of jurisdiction is still a talking point here? Many thoughts that Justice Kekere had, you know, addressed this issue. Is it about the lawyer now or the judge?
Well, it definitely is a lawyer. If the lawyer should have known that anything that concerns traditional institutions shouldn't have gone to the federal high court. It should have started from the state high court.
What about the judge who ruled over the case?
You know? The judge now is do you know he's not a justice in the Court of Appeal? He's a justice now. You know, he has done his own and he has left. He has moved higher. You understand? So he's left now. That's why I'm saying they can still go to the Supreme Court. Let the Supreme Court justice or the Supreme Court judges, let them be the ones to now decide finally what we have. But like I keep saying it, I don't know if people who are already jostling for traditional institutions to go into constitution to save them and save them from politicians, they should not clamor for it.
Okay. I think let me come to you. It's still this matter of jurisdiction, because I've heard people say when a case involves the fundamental human right of anyone, any court can take up the matter. Jurisdiction is not considered here. How true is that?
Well, the issue of jurisdiction, we have courts who are of lower, jurisdiction, and courts that have higher jurisdiction. But the point is that if you are supposed to take a case into magistrate's court and you decide to go to a higher court, your lawyer will challenge you, in a higher jurisdiction. And then, so the process should continue to exhaust itself. That's my own, because even when you technically go to court and say, okay, this court has no jurisdiction, the other lawyer will insist that, look, so it's now left for the judge to decide, looking at the books. But the fact of the matter is that we have a court of final jurisdiction, which is the Supreme Court. So whatever is the case, people should exhaust all the available legal
first,
and then at the end of the day, the Supreme Court will, give the final judgment. So because issues of jurisdiction has always been very contentious. People will still go to high court and go to. So at the end of the day, thank God we have the Court of Appeal and then the Supreme Court. So at the end of the day, in this case, the Supreme Court will give a final judgment that will be binding on all the parties. No matter how anybody tries to manipulate some pranks, legal pranks.
All right, but do you think the court decisions have ensured a fair hearing for all the parties involved in this Emirate lawsuit?
Well, you see, if anybody loses a case in court, for him, there's no fair hearing. So fair hearing is neither here nor there. But for somebody, that judgment favors you, you believe that there's fair hearing. I hardly will see any person that loses in court, even though he has a very bad case. He will still tell you there's no fair hearing.
Yes.
But I think the principles of law, once the principles of law are applied, without taking into consideration any sentiments and all that, then the fair principle has been applied.
Are there any risk of prolonging this dispute?
Definitely, the case will be prolonged. It's certainly, it's quite certain, because we've been on it now, I think, since last year. And I believe we have not seen the end of this case. So it's too early for any party to go to sleep. I believe this case will drag on and on until the Supreme Court will be able to make a final pronouncement.
All right, before we move on, just for instance, Emir Sanusi wins this dispute and he remains the Emir. Are you worried that, peradventure a new governor emerges in 2027? Does it bother you that a new Emir might emerge?
Well, it depends on who the new governor will be. Let's get to that bridge before we cross it.
Okay.
But for now, it still has the Supreme Court to contend with, because I know they will still move to the Supreme Court. And anything that concerns land matters, chieftaincy matters, sometimes it can take years. You understand? So it might even be nobody knows the number of years it might be, because you can go to Supreme Court will say, go back, go and start the matter again. And then they'll start dragging the matter till they get back to the Supreme Court again.
All right.
So let's just be hopeful that another government will come, and then the government will not be too hesitant, to remove, the Emir in any way.
All right, gentlemen, let's move on to another very interesting